The jewel beetle's surface looks like polished metal, flashing green, blue, and gold as it moves under light. But that shine is not decoration alone. The structure of its shell bends light to hide its outline from predators. In hot regions like Australia, some species are so sensitive to heat that they mistake wildfires for breeding sites. They fly toward burning areas, drawn by infrared signals, expecting scorched wood where they can lay their eggs. This behavior turns dangerous quickly, as many are caught in the flames before they can escape. There is also a darker side to how human activity affects them, especially with reflective surfaces like discarded beer bottles. Males attempt to mate with these objects, ignoring real females nearby, which drains their energy and reduces their chances of reproduction. The beetle's visual system, which evolved for precise mate recognition, becomes unreliable in altered environments. It shows how a highly specialized trait can fail when the context changes. The tiger beetle doesn't chase slowly. It explodes forward with bursts of speed so intense that it temporarily loses vision while running.
During these sprints, the beetle moves faster than its eyes can process, forcing it to stop repeatedly just to relocate its target.
This creates a strange rhythm of attack. Sprint, pause, recalibrate, then strike again. Its long legs lift the body off the ground, reducing friction and allowing rapid acceleration on sand or open terrain. When it finally closes the gap, its jaws snap shut with precision, leaving almost no chance for escape. Its world is shaped by open spaces, often found in sunlit paths, riverbanks, and dry soil where nothing blocks its movement. The eyes are unusually large, giving it a wide field of view to detect motion from a distance. Unlike ambush predators, it relies on direct pursuit, turning the ground into a hunting track. Even its larvae follow a different strategy, hiding in vertical burrows with only the head exposed, waiting for prey to pass overhead. Across both life stages, the same principle remains: speed, timing, and sudden force. The Bombardier beetle has a small body with a built-in chemical reaction chamber that fires boiling liquid outward like a controlled explosion. Inside its abdomen, two compounds are stored separately until danger triggers a rapid mix. The reaction spikes in temperature close to the boiling point of water and releases gas pressure that ejects the fluid in pulses.
Each burst is aimed with surprising accuracy, often directed straight at the face or joints of a predator.
The sound is sharp, almost like tiny pops, and the heat alone can be enough to repel attacks instantly. It is not just a defense, it is a precise system that combines chemistry and timing. The beetle can pulse the spray multiple times in quick succession, instead of releasing everything at once. Internal structures protect it from its own weapon, channeling the reaction outward without damage. This mechanism has been studied for decades because it solves a complex problem, generating explosive force in a confined space without self-destruction. In nature, it shifts the balance of power, allowing a relatively small insect to stand its ground against much larger threats. The encounter changes instantly, turning a vulnerable prey into something that predators learn to avoid. Crushing it should be easy, but this is the one that doesn't give in. Its body is built like a locked structure, with layers that interconnect instead of simply stacking. When pressure is applied, the force spreads across the shell instead of focusing on one point. Even attempts to pin it between hard surfaces often fail, because the exoskeleton resists cracking by flexing in controlled ways. Predators that rely on biting or squeezing quickly run into a problem. There is no weak spot to exploit. Tests have shown that it can withstand forces far beyond what similar insects endure, sometimes even surviving being stepped on. Instead of escaping quickly, it survives by enduring. This changes the usual dynamic of predator and prey, where speed or camouflage dominate. Two massive jaws dominate its front, shaped like antlers and used less for cutting and more for lifting and throwing. Males face each other on tree trunks, pushing and locking mandibles until one loses balance and falls. Those jaws, despite their intimidating size, are often too weak to break hard surfaces, which makes their role more specialized than it appears. Strength is directed into leverage rather than force. The entire encounter becomes a contest of positioning where a single shift can decide the outcome. These battles usually happen at night, around sap flows where females gather, turning quiet tree surfaces into arenas. Larvae, hidden inside decaying wood, spend years feeding before emerging for a short adult phase focused almost entirely on reproduction. This contrast between long development and brief, intense competition defines their life cycle. What seems like a weapon built for damage is actually tuned for dominance without destruction. Its size alone changes how everything around it reacts, with some individuals reaching the weight of a small bird. When it moves, it does not rely on subtlety. It uses mass and grip to stay in control of surfaces like tree trunks. The larvae stage is where most of that growth happens, feeding aggressively on protein-rich material instead of just decaying plant matter. This unusual diet allows it to reach a scale that few insects achieve. Despite that weight, it can still take flight, opening its hardened wing covers to reveal delicate wings underneath. The takeoff is heavy and loud, requiring a burst of effort that contrasts with the smooth glide that follows.
In some regions of Africa, these beetles have been observed feeding on sap and fruit, often gathering in areas where resources are concentrated.
Their size offers protection, but also demands more energy to sustain movement and flight. This creates a balance between power and cost that defines how they behave. It is a rare example of an insect pushing the limits of how large and heavy a flying body can realistically be. 3 long horns extend from its body, forming a structure that looks engineered rather than grown. These horns are not random. They act as levers, allowing the beetle to lift, pin, and flip rivals during confrontations.
Instead of relying on biting, it uses geometry and positioning to control the fight.
When 2 males meet, they push forward, trying to get underneath the opponent and force it upward. The moment one loses balance, the fight ends quickly. This mechanical advantage becomes even clearer when observing how it navigates its environment. The horns help it anchor against surfaces, giving stability while climbing or resisting external pressure. The structure of its body reflects that need, distributing force through the horns and thorax instead of concentrating it in one point. What appears oversized is actually precise in function. It carries one of the longest horns relative to body size in the insect world. And that horn is not static. It reacts to humidity, shifting from darker tones to a lighter, almost greenish color. This change is not for display alone. It reflects how the outer layer interacts with moisture in the air. In combat, the horn becomes a lifting tool, sliding under rivals and forcing them upward with controlled force.
Fights are brief but decisive, often ending the moment one beetle is flipped off a branch.
Its life begins in a completely different form, as a massive larva hidden in decaying wood. It spends years building the energy needed for this short adult phase. When it finally emerges, the body is designed almost entirely for reproduction and competition. The wings, hidden beneath hardened covers, allow it to move between trees, though flight is heavy and deliberate. Across tropical forests in Central and South America, it occupies a niche where strength and positioning decide access to resources.
Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, you already know what to do.